Am I the asshole for yelling at my mom right before she walked down the aisle? I 19 male, graduated from high school in November 2020. I have always had a really difficult relationship with my parents. My dad was in and out of the country for work all the time, essentially leaving my mom to care and raise me 90% of the time. My mom never took an interest in my schooling, but my dad would rely on her for updates on how I was doing. She would always tell him I was doing bad. 2020 was really the first year I ever got to know my dad. He was mad at first, expecting to be disappointed. But once he realized I was doing well, he fully threw himself into it. He came to all my games and concerts, joined in on parent committees and helped with homework. I, for the first time, felt like I had a parent that gave a shit about what was happening in my life. Then about a month before graduation, my mom and dad split up. This was somewhat a relief as they really couldn't stand each other. I invited them both to my graduation. My mom had an issue with this. She quickly came to me and asked me to uninvite him as my school assigned seats and wouldn't let them sit apart. I asked her if she could just put up with him for the one night because I wanted him to be there. She said I needed to figure it out. I told my mom that if she had an issue with him being there, then she didn't need to come. She called me an asshole and that was the end of it. Then, about 2 weeks before graduation, my dad died. 2 days before graduation, I overheard her making plans to go out the same night as my graduation. I reminded her that I was graduating that night and she said, "You uninvited me, remember?" I asked if she really wasn't going to come and she said that she would see if she could make the time. Come my graduation night, no one was there. I texted her asking her to pick me up and she didn't respond. I caught a ride with my best friend's family and moved in with them the next day. That was almost 2 years ago. She had been harassing me to come to her wedding. She'd messaged me non-stop, even had my relatives contact me too, telling me she'd stop if I came. I decided to go. I spent the whole day with her and honestly, it was a really nice time. She asked if I could walk her down the aisle. Then right before we were supposed to walk, she told me she was pregnant and said something along the lines of, "Hopefully this one won't leave me," while patting her stomach. I asked what she meant by that, to which she responded, "It's okay, don't worry, I forgive you." This absolutely pissed me off. I took a step away and snapped at her that I didn't need to be forgiven. She reminded me of how I left and ignored her efforts to rekindle our relationship just to be petty. I told her that lack of relationship with her son is a direct result of her being a shitty and narcissistic mother, and then I left. Now my phone is blowing up from family members calling me an asshole for ruining her wedding. I feel a bit bad, so am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for making a joke about my brother's affair at his wedding? When I was in elementary school, I was the type of kid who got disrupts class often on their report card, so I never focused much on school. My district had this system where they would pair high schoolers with younger kids to help them with school, etc., and my mom made me do that after I kept getting in trouble. So my tutor was a freshman, Abby, so she would come to our house after school to help me with my homework or something, I barely remember. My brother John was the same age as Abby, so they would talk to each other and ended up dating. She stopped tutoring me officially after like a month, but since she was at our house a lot, I also talked to Abby a lot and we were close as well. Fast forward 10 years, Abby and John got married and had a kid together. 5 years later, John tells me that he's getting a divorce because he's met someone new. It sucked because I liked John and Abby together a lot, but whatever. Then he tells me he had an affair with his new girlfriend. Also sucks, and I told him he shouldn't have hurt Abby like that, but whatever. I also asked Abby how she was doing and she wasn't doing well, but she told me she didn't want her to be the reason I have a bad relationship with my brother. However, 2 months before the wedding, Abby calls me and tells me that my brother's girlfriend has been harassing her nonstop. She showed me the texts and his girlfriend was saying some pretty disturbing things about how she's so much better than Abby, taunting Abby for having to share custody of her kid now, etc., just making fun of her and bullying her. I told my brother about this and he said he would ask his girlfriend about it. A month later I asked him if he ever brought it up and he said he did but saw nothing wrong with the texts, which pissed me off. I confirmed that he saw the same texts I saw. Abby apologized for involving me in the whole thing in the first place and encouraged me to still go to the wedding, where my brother asked me to make a speech. The speech went well until I made a joke. The gist of the joke was me turning to his new wife and telling her that if she's learned anything from this, she should know that my brother will never let his wife stop him from finding the love of his life. This got my brother and his wife really mad, and they kicked me out shortly after, and my brother has been calling/texting me nonstop yelling at me. TLDR, made a joke about brother's affair. Am I the asshole? What is one memory that never fails to make you smile every time you think about it? The last time I saw my great-grandma Claudine. She was 98 and had horrible dementia. She didn't recognize my grandmother, her daughter, and it was honestly very sad. We were going to her house because my papa, her husband, died and we needed to go to his funeral. Before we left we got a car wash and one of the guys there gave us a red carnation. It was a weird promotion or something, I think. But after a 10+ hour drive we made it to her house. I rushed inside and overheard my grandma begging my great-grandma to remember her, because my grandma had recently been diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. She kicked its ass and beat it. I gave her a second and knocked, then walked in. The very first thing my great-grandma said when she saw me was, "Is that my beautiful my name?" I nearly cried just from that. My grandma was super happy she remembered me but sad she didn't remember her, and decided I should spend time with her alone. She went off to go get some food, I think, but I don't really know. So it was just me and my grandma. We chatted for a while and the inevitable question finally came up. Me, who was that woman in here earlier? That's your daughter, Grandma? Oh really? Why does her hair look so weird? Oh, it's a wig. She is bald now. I couldn't bring myself to tell her daughter had cancer, even though she wouldn't remember. She giggled a bit then attempted to pull me in, and said I'm gonna steal her wig. I laughed. She couldn't walk or lift her own arms on her own, let alone snatch a wig right off of my grandmother's head. After about an hour my tummy started to grumble, so I called my grandma back in and went to the kitchen for some potatoes. After maybe 5 minutes I heard my grandma scream. I was afraid my great-grandma finally had died and rushed in, but it wasn't that at all. My great-grandma did it. She ripped the wig right off of my grandma's head. She told her to come close to whisper a secret and with all her might snatched it. She went on to live in a care home and got into many more antics, and would call once a week begging me to steal her away and start a traveling band.
My best friend was hooking up with a married man, so I told his wife. Both me and my best friend are 20F. We had been friends for about 5 years or so. I considered her my sister because we were just that close. We tell each other everything. Recently she told me how she was hooking up with a married man. Mind you, he was 50-something with kids and grandkids. I told her to end it because she was being stupid. She knows that I don't condone cheating. I try to keep an open mind, but some things, like cheating, I do not tolerate. But she said she was going to continue hooking up with him because it makes her feel good about herself. Her reasoning was that this married man would rather rail her than this wife, and that made her feel good about herself. I need y'all to know this: hooking up with a married person is not a brag, it just means you are pathetic. I asked her what about his wife, and she said she doesn't care about his wife. Her words were, if his wife was being a good wife then he wouldn't be out here screwing me. And that just really peed me off. I screenshotted all our texts. She would send me videos of them doing it together, their text convos, their dates, all the gifts he bought her, videos of him badmouthing his wife, and so much more. So I saved all of that. I easily found him on social media because my friend was following him. That MF didn't even make his account private. He posted pics of his wife, kids and grandkids. From there I found his wife on social media, followed her and sent her a DM with all proof. Then I sent friend a text saying that she is the scum of the earth and I don't want anything to do with her. After that I blocked her on everything. I sent the wife the DM about an hour ago and she hasn't responded yet. I got my husband a gift. I didn't expect his reaction. My husband works and pays all the bills. I stay home with our child. I was left inheritance from both my grandfather and my father. He does more than enough for me, and I don't need him to give me spending money. I spend my inheritance on activities with my child, beauty products, appointments, clothes, coffee, those kinds of things. I appreciate him greatly and I wanted to give him a gift. He collects watches, so I bought him one that I know he's been wanting. But when I gave it to him this morning, he didn't react well. He unwrapped it, looked at it for a moment and then put it aside. He said,
"Don't spend your money on me like that again."
I was caught off guard. I asked why and told him I just wanted him to know how much I appreciate him. He told me that he appreciates having a beautiful wife and coming home to a clean house with dinner on the table. He told me,
"This is not how you appreciate me."
I had to hold in my tears. I didn't know what to do, so I nodded and said okay, I'm sorry. He kissed my cheek and then left the room. I know I usually express my love in other ways, but I thought it would be nice to reciprocate what he gives me. I'm so confused, and a little hurt.